Well, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so thrilled you could be here this morning for the East Bay Small Business Webinar hosted by California State Treasurer Fiona Ma and the East Bay Leadership Council. My name is Kristen Connolly. I'm the President and CEO of the East Bay Leadership Council. We're glad you could join us today. The East Bay Leadership Council is a regional advocacy organization representing hundreds of East Bay employers. We're based in Walnut Creek, California, where, like so many other places, there's been a lot of significant peaceful protest and also some challenges for our small businesses. This has been a really, really difficult week. We thank you for making the time. The Treasurer's Office in the state of California is connected to extraordinary resources, and we're grateful that Fiona Ma and her team have collaborated with us this morning. We're going to start off with some opening remarks by California State Treasurer Fiona Ma, who I'll introduce in a second. And then we're going to be getting a series of 5 presentations from experts in all areas about some of the different small business resources. Our format this morning is that we ask that you use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions. After each presentation, there'll be a brief moment to answer some of those questions, but then the end of this webinar has 10 minutes reserved for question and answers back and forth. So we really do hope to make this interactive and helpful. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Fiona Ma. Fiona Ma was elected California State Treasurer in November 2018 with more votes than any other treasurer candidate in the state's history. She's the first woman of color and the first woman CPA elected to the chair and vice chair of the California State Board of Equalization from 2015 to 2019, where she focused on increasing efficiency and transparency at the agency. As a state legislator, she was the first and only Asian American woman elected California Assembly Speaker pro tempore, the second highest ranking office in the Assembly. During her time as a legislator, schools and children's toys, protect small business owners, and expand opportunities for homeowners. She previously served as San Francisco supervisor. Treasurer Ma is California's head banker, providing transparency and oversight for the government's investment portfolio and accounts, as well as managing the state's $92 billion in financial assets. Huge swing in our financial position in a short amount of time. California is so fortunate to have someone with a strong reputation as a problem solver in this role. It's never been more important for our leaders to know how to build effective coalitions to solve problems. I could go on and on about Treasurer Ma's experience, but we'll stop here and simply say that all of the Treasurer's Office with so many important resources for small business, why I wanted the East Bay Leadership Council to partner with her office on today's program. It's also worth noting that even before we had to move to online events, Fiona Ma made a point of showing up in the East Bay for our member companies, including Choice and Aging, which provides critical adult day healthcare programs and so much more. Without further ado, I'm pleased to welcome California's 34th Treasurer to start us off this morning. Fiona, take it away.
Great, thank you. Can you see me? See and hear me? Great. Thank you all, and thank you, Kristen, for co-hosting this event with us. We've done about 30 Zoom webinars right now, and this is the new abnormal, but it is a great tool for us to educate and network and share what is happening out there. I started out as a CPA with one of the big 8 accounting firms, left and started my own practice. And that's the first time I got involved in politics, really representing small business owners and understanding how difficult it is to navigate the processes, all the filings and the fees and the audits. And so that still continues to be my passion here today. Before COVID-19, my outreach team and I were doing in-person seminars, and now over the last 2 months, we have shifted to these webinars, and so we hope that today will be very helpful and educational to your members. Before I turn it back over to you, I just want to make a couple of remarks. On my website, www.treasurer.ca.gov. We have 2 buttons. One is our official state button, a state website, covid19.ca.gov. And we encourage people to log onto this website for what is really happening, facts, not some of what's swirling around on the internet, and helpful information, resources, the governor's latest mandates, and any other up-to-date information. The other button is my COVID-19 resource guide, where we have been updating in real time resources for small businesses, nonprofits, individuals, tax relief, as well as individuals. We update this on a real-time basis so that folks are not going to waste their time applying for a loan or a grant program that has already been expired. And so we encourage you to please also use us as a resource. If we don't answer any questions today, I have a dedicated email, Fiona, it's called Ask Fiona at treasurer.ca.gov. And I think Gloria Lee will be typing in all of these websites and emails into the chat. But again, 24/7, please feel free to reach out to us. We know this is very confusing time. People are not accessing information in real time. Perhaps people are not answering the phone. Websites are crashing. So please feel free to reach out to us. I also want to take this opportunity to remind folks, if you haven't filled out your census, to please do so. It takes less than 2 minutes, 9 private, simple questions, but it does make a difference in terms of how much we are getting from the federal government every year. I'll give you a real life example. On April 24th, the state of California got $9.5 billion in assistance through the CARES Act, directly linked to how many people are registered here in the state. So for every person that is not registered, we estimate it will cost California $1,000 per person for the next 10 years in lost revenues that goes to fund very important programs and services, like some of the ones at Choice in Aging, for example. Also, we have a public-private partnership that we entered into with onward.ca.gov. It has over 100,000 different job offerings and listings, so that if during this time you are looking for a job or have some downturn and maybe want to pick up some extra income, we encourage you to look at the listings of actual opportunities that are out there. And then for seniors, there is a dedicated seniors hotline. That is 1-833-544-2374. It does have multiple languages, so we encourage anyone who has questions or caring for our seniors during this time to please call that number. Okay. My dad just got home and my dogs are barking, so I'm going to turn it back over to Kristen. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you so much, Fiona. I really appreciate that. Was a ton of good information, and we really care a lot about the census. So our own communications director has done great work on the Contra Costa County Complete Count Committee, and really want to just echo that. The agenda for today is up on your screen. Like I said, we're going to be hearing presentations, 5 great presentations. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Bianca Blomquist, of the Small Business Majority, to talk about federal stimulus programs, reopening, and the iBank microloan program. Take it away.
Can you hear me? All right, great. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Treasurer, for your leadership on small business owner issues throughout this pandemic and as folks move into recovery. My name is Bianca. I am the California Policy and Engagement Manager for an organization called Small Business Majority. Let me move so you can see me. I notice my lighting's not very good here. We are an advocacy organization. Next slide, please. We are a nonprofit advocacy organization that advocates for small business owners on kind of macroeconomic issues, primarily healthcare, access to affordable healthcare, access to the financial services systems. So we are helping small business owners navigate the federal and state funding assistance programs, much of which we'll talk about today, and wealth building options. And Jonathan Herrera is going to be talking about CalSavers, which is a wonderful program, and we're excited to hear from Jonathan about that. Next slide, please. All of our work, our macroeconomic issues that we do focus on with small business owners, is really guided by our third-party independent polling and research, which sets us aside from many trade associations, and our vast network of small business owners nationwide helps us to also understand the real issues that small business owners are going to, especially now, but we're not a membership-based organization. Next slide, please. Next slide, Noah. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the different phases of the stimulus packages that have been passed. If you do have questions, though, please don't be afraid to put them into the chat box or reach out to me afterwards. I'm more than happy to go into the ins and outs of both the Paycheck Protection Program, next slide, Noah, and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. Essentially, in March, Congress passed the CARES Act. That was the really pivotal piece that came for small business owners to provide them access to forgivable loans. Next slide, and next slide. So what's going to be in phase 4? What's important to know, and if you're going to take anything away from my policy updates, is that phase 4 has not passed yet. It has been passed in the House. There are a few different pieces, but the two pieces that you might want to, as a small business owner, keep in mind are the HEROES Act and the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act. These are the pieces of legislation that are now in the Senate, and they contain some key improvements for a number of the issues we're going to talk about today: the Paycheck Protection Program, forgivability pieces, pandemic unemployment assistance, which expanded unemployment to independent contractors, self-employed individuals, those individuals in California who might not be eligible for traditional unemployment insurance. Next slide. So we would like you, as a small business owner advocacy organization, to get involved in any way that you can. Remember, I mentioned that these pieces of legislation are in the Senate. That means you can pick up the phone, give your senator a call. We only have 2 here in California. We're absolutely happy to help you get connected, and let them know that these key provisions are important to you as a small business owner. Next slide, please. Next slide. So the state loan guarantee program is really important, and it fits into this conversation of federal programs, and that the state loan guarantee program is slated to be the program that is going to help a lot of small business owners that were unfortunately left behind the federal assistance program. So if you, as a small business owner, for whatever reason are ineligible to participate in the Paycheck Protection Program, if you are, as a small business owner, ineligible to participate in the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, you have credit issues, etc., the State Loan Guarantee Program might be right for you. What's important about the State Loan Guarantee Program, especially now, is that Governor Newsom announced additional funding into this program. And this program is going to have funds dedicated to provide loans to small business owners that are seeking assistance for real smaller dollar amounts than as provided by the EIDL and the Paycheck Protection Program. Next slide. Here are some of the eligibility features and the uses of the program. If you are comparing the State Loan Guarantee Program, the funds that are operated through iBank, it's important that you know that that it is not forgivable in the same way that the Paycheck Protection Program is. It's different. There are a few different factors here. If you have 750 employees or less, for example, you are eligible to participate in this program. And there are a number of different funds that are that you are able to use for the state loan guarantee program. Next slide, please. Feel free to reach out to us if you are interested in participating in the state loan guarantee program right now. And we're hoping and we believe that this program will be expanding very soon. But for now, these are the 3 lending institutions that you can visit. If you already know that the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program is not right for you, it's cdcloans.com, pacificcommunityventures.org, and that's mybank.com. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, this program is operated through the EDD, which is the state agency that's handling a lot of the economic jobs issues and unemployment issues in California. The main takeaway of the Workshare program, if you haven't heard of it before as a small business owner, it's not the most popular for a couple of different reasons, but it is an interesting way for a small business owner, perhaps yourself, to consider as an alternative to laying off your workforce. If you have already laid off your workforce, unfortunately, the Workshare program is not going to be applicable to you. It's only available to those small business owners who have not yet laid off their workforce. If you're interested in the Workshare program, reach out to me or any of the folks on this webinar. We'll all work together to get you connected. It is a fairly paper-heavy process, but the Workshare program, next slide please, has a number of different advantages. Next, oh, there we go. So this infographic here kind of explains the Workshare program for those small business owners that are kind of operating in that gray area between laying off their entire workforce and operating at full capacity. Next slide, please. To be eligible for the program, you do have to have a reduction in revenue. Next slide, please, between that 10 and 60% that was shown on the previous slide. And now we're going to move into the best part of the webinar, in my opinion, and that is the Governor's Resilience Roadmap. These are the stages that you're probably familiar with, stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. Somewhat self-explanatory in that stage 2, which is where we are, or perhaps stage 2B. Involves lower risk workplaces. Those are those workplaces in which contactless payments or the ability for you to service something does not require you to interact in a close proximity to your customers. A Pilates studio, for example, would not be this. This would include some retail, etc. Next slide. The key takeaway of the Governor's Resilience Roadmap is that it's supposed to serve as somewhat of a baseline to give small business owners some consistency in understanding how the recovery process and the reopening process is going to look. We as a small business owner advocacy organization have put together some different tips for small business owners to follow as they go through this process, review the guidance, prepare a plan, and put into action. Next slide, please. Depending on where you live, you're going to have different guidelines, restrictions, etc. But all workplaces are going to need to perform a detailed risk assessment, train their employees on how to limit the spread of COVID-19. There are going to be individual control measures that you as a small business owner are going to have to enforce for both your workers and your employees and your clients. I'm running up on my time here, sorry. Again, the key takeaway here, next slide please, is that it's going to be county by county. So if COVID-19 has taught us anything in California, it's definitely the relationship between the governor's administration and our different local jurisdictions. Go to your county website or your city council's website for detailed protocols on how you as a small business owner operating in that county are going to need to reopen your business. They might not be following the same guidelines that the county has put forward in their resiliency roadmap. So for example, in Santa Clara County, they're following a little bit of a different trajectory. So for example, in-store shopping is not allowed until 2 days from now, until Friday. Next slide, please. And again, I'm happy to discuss any questions you might have about the Paycheck Protection Program, the forgivability measures that are associated with the program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, State Loan Guarantee Program. We do have someone from CalCap today who's going to be talking about CalCap, which is how I kind of describe as the sister program to the State Loan Guarantee Program. So that's really exciting, and a number of different folks that are going to talk about the local resources that are available to you if you're still looking for financial help. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bianca. That was a lot of great information and a great way to start us off. Our next presentation, teed up quite nicely for us, is in fact on the CalCap program, the California Capital Access Program. So here to present, we have Janae Davis from the California Pollution Control Financing Authority. So Janae, are you here and able to take it away?
Janae actually was calling in and just lost connection. So she's going to do her best to rejoin us by phone.
Okay.
But we may have to come back to her presentation. Unfortunately, she is trying to connect, but isn't able to do so digitally.
No problem. Okay, so then Jonathan Herrera, I'm going to put you on the spot and have you go next. So, because we do have a packed agenda. So we're going to move to the CalSavers Retirement Savings Program, and here to present on CalSavers is Jonathan Herrera. Thank you. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning, Kristen. Thank you so much for that introduction. Yes, my name is Jonathan Herrera. I'm the outreach manager for the CalSavers program. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on this webinar. Really happy to be here. And thank you to the audience for joining us today. You know, I'm sure as business owners that you have a lot going on right now, and we want to assure you that, you know, we're aware that you're facing unprecedented challenges right now, and want you to know that CalSavers is committed to supporting. Am I still muted? Can everybody hear me?
No, Jonathan, you're good. We can hear you. We heard you from the start.
Okay, good.
You're good.
Perfect. I am sorry. I'm getting text messages from colleagues saying I am muted. Oh, where was I? We want you to know that CalSavers is committed to supporting employers through these uncertain times by offering extra support and flexibility. Specifically, I was asked here to talk about how our program is responding to COVID. And I know that right now, what business owners need more than anything is financial assistance to keep their doors open and people on the payroll. But unfortunately, you know, CalSavers is not that. So yeah, go ahead. Next slide, please, Noah. But I think that even as California works to heal our communities, flatten the COVID-19 curve, and safeguard private sector jobs, I don't think it's premature to give attention to programs that are here for economic recovery and family income security in a post-virus period. You know, one of the key problems of economic equality in the United States is that many hardworking Americans retire with little or no financial savings other than Social Security, and therefore can't make their ends meet. Next slide, please, Noah. In California, what it looks like is, you know, nearly half of Californians are projected to retire into economic hardship. And we think that a key driver of that is that there's 7.5 million Californians who lack access to a workplace-based retirement program. And we think that's particularly important because workers with access to a payroll deduction way to save at work are 15 times more likely to be saving and be on a path towards retirement security. That number actually goes up to 20 times more likely if the program features automatic enrollment, which is something that CalSavers does. Next slide, please. So with that in mind, knowing that the best way to get people on the path towards retirement security, the legislature back in 2016 did pass a new requirement on businesses in the state of California. It says that any businesses in the state with at least 5 employees are going to be required to offer some sort of retirement savings program. That means they can go out on the private market, find, you know, the programs that we're all familiar with, like pensions, 401ks. We have a list on our website in the frequently asked questions of all the different qualifying plans. But the other option is to register and facilitate our program, CalSavers, for your employees. There are some registration deadlines that roll out over the next 3 years based on the size of your business. The first one was going to be June 30th of this year, but, you know, given the circumstances, knowing that small businesses right now are very much focused on their, you know, emergency response, our board recently extended the deadline to September 30th of 2020, and that's the deadline for businesses with more than 100 employees. The next two deadlines roll out. Let's see, the next one is for businesses with more than 50 employees. They have until June 30th of 2021. And then the smallest group of businesses with 5 or more employees will have until June 30th of 2022. But it's important to note that when we opened the program statewide on July 1st of last year, 2019, it's open for all eligible businesses. So those businesses who are able, who do have, their workforce still working, they're welcome to join at any time. And we're here to support, your onboarding and your facilitation of the program. Quick note for businesses with less than 5 employees. Businesses with less than 5 employees are not subject to the mandate, so can't register, can't submit your employees' information for automatic enrollment. But we did open the program for individual participation. So those employees of really small businesses, or if you're self-employed, a contractor, a gig worker, you're welcome to go to our website, CalSavers.com, and start up your own account anytime you want. Next slide, please. In the East Bay, just to get it, drill down locally, we've identified over 20,000 businesses in Alameda and Contra Costa counties with more than 777,000 employees that qualify to participate in CalSavers. Another way of saying that is subject to the mandate. Interesting to note, there's only 999 employers in Wave 1. That's the ones with more than 100 employees, but they employ more than half of the eligible employees in the area. Next slide, please. So, when the legislation passed in 2016 and we got the green light to create our program, our goal was, knowing that businesses were going to be required to do this, was to create a program that was easy to facilitate, free for employers to offer. There's no cost for the employer, there's no fees, and remove the fiduciary liability from the program. So next slide, please. I'm going to really quickly give you the super high level overview of how it works to facilitate CalSavers if you decide to join our program. And really what it comes down to is registering by your state required deadline and setting up your online account. Simple matter of setting up your username and password, telling us a little bit about how you run your payroll, and then submitting a roster of your employees. And that's the key to that automatic enrollment feature. So you'll give us a list of your employees with all of the information that we need to get their account set up. And once we have that, we'll do all of the communication with the employees to get them onboarded. We let them know that, we encourage them to come to the website, check out our program, customize their settings if they want to, but most importantly, we let them know that if they don't opt out within the first 30 days, they do get automatically enrolled with the default settings. After that, the employer's responsibility is just submitting the employee contributions as part of your existing payroll process with each pay period. And those are really the only two ongoing requirements for employers, and that is maintaining your roster, so adding new employees as they come on board, and then doing the contributions as part of your existing payroll process. A few things employers will not do. Again, they don't have any program fees. They don't have any fiduciary responsibility for the program, and employers are not allowed to make contributions. So unfortunately, there's no match in this program. And employers should not encourage or discourage participation in the program, provide advice about investment options or taxes, manage investment options, process distributions, or manage any of the changes that employees make to maintain their account. All of that is done with the program. We designed it that way on purpose to remove that responsibility from employers, to make it as easy as possible. So you're not the ones who are handing out forms and collecting them, updating people's personal information. All of that is done directly with the program, so employers don't have to do that. Next slide, please. Continuing our high-level overview, it's really based around an automatic payroll deduction IRA, just like any other IRA that you can get from your local financial institution. Key difference is we're partnering with you, small business owners, to facilitate the automatic enrollment payroll contribution. Completely voluntary for your employees. Again, they can opt out within the first 30 days or any time after that if they decide they don't want to participate. We've designed it to be as simple as possible for them. It's completely portable for them. So if they work multiple jobs or end up leaving you for another company, that their account belongs to them at all times and follows them wherever they go. Savers do pay a small fee to cover the program administration investment costs, but the program is going to be self-sustaining based on those participant fees that we charge, which makes it zero cost for the state and taxpayers and also for the employer. Next slide, please. So really quickly, one more slide. Just wanted to go a little bit more into detail about how CalSavers is responding to the COVID-19 crisis. For our savers, we want them to know that we're continuing to ensure the safe custody and investment of all of their contributions and timely processing of account requests. We did design the program with both market volatility and short-term financial resilience in mind. Sort of the key to that is that we chose a Roth IRA as the default for the program. With a Roth IRA, because the contributions are going in after tax, participants are actually allowed to withdraw their contributions without taxes or penalty. If they withdraw interest, obviously there could be some potential taxes and penalties. We did that when we chose that as a default. We sort of had in mind, a short-term emergency like someone's car broke down, or they lost their job and they need a little bit of money to cover the rent. We had no idea that it would be a global pandemic, cause the need for access to their money. The other key feature is $1,000 that anybody could contribute. It goes into a conservative money market fund. So assets that are invested in our program right now are in that capital preservation.
So hey, Jonathan, I'm going to jump in here. Jonathan, we're having trouble with your audio. So I wanted, and we're also like kind of at time. So I wanted to see if you could actually just sort of how much more you had and see if we could wrap up. Hate to do that to you. Try and speak again. Let's see if that works. Oh no, I think we've lost Jonathan's. Jonathan, you want to try again to see if your audio is working?
Fund, so those savers aren't experiencing.
Okay, we're going to come back to Jonathan. We did get a question in the Q&A.
This is Janie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Janae, we're going to go back to you, Janae. So it's going to be your turn to present on the CalCap program. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll try one more time. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Jonathan.
Okay. So I'll try to quickly wrap it up. For small businesses,
keep going.
Okay.
Wait, hold on a second.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, so Janae, I'm sorry, so we're gonna have
Okay,
Jonathan.
great, thank you.
Jonathan,
thank you for having me today. Sorry, the technological glitch.
Go ahead, Janae. I really won't interrupt you anymore. Take it away, you're great.
Janie, keep going?
Yes, go ahead, Janae, keep going. Go ahead and start. Deputy Executive Director of the California Pollution Control Financing Authority, here to talk about CalCap. Take it away. So it looks like Janae is muted still. Is there a way to unmute Janae? There you go, Janae.
The California Pollution Control Financing Authority. I'd like to start out. It always sounds funny to be on a small business webinar or at an event and say I'm from the. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go for it.
Okay, I'm Janie Davis, and I'm from the Pollution Control Financing Authority. I'm here today to talk about our California Capital Access Program. Why is the California Capital Access Program? Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay. I'm here to talk about why, first of all, I want to talk about the California Capital Access Program, which is a credit enhancement to help small businesses in California. It is administered by the California Pollution Control Financing Authority within the State Treasurer's Office. And the mission of the California Pollution Control Financing Authority is to stimulate the economy through environmental cleanup, economic development, job growth, through tax-exempt bonds, credit enhancement, and grants. We were originated as a conduit issuer of tax-exempt pollution control bonds and used the fees that we collected on bond issuances to large businesses to fund the Small Business Assistance Fund, which we call our SPAF. We've used that SPAF to provide incentives to small businesses who frequently issue bonds for waste and recycling projects to offset the cost of issuance of pollution control projects through our tax-exempt bond program. We also use that SPAF to create our CalReuse program, which is a loan and grant funding program to assist with the assessment and remediation of brownfield infill sites in California. The program I'm here to talk about today is our California Capital Access Program, which we established in 1994, and it's a loan loss reserve program. We work with participating lenders to encourage them to make loans and provide financing to small businesses that might not otherwise qualify for financing or loans. The next slide I'm going to talk about is an overview of all of our CalCap programs. I'm really going to focus on the two top programs today. We do have a suite of 6 programs, but the two I'm going to focus on today is our CalCap for Small Business program, our Collateral Support program. I'll touch a little bit on our Air Resources Board program, which is useful for small fleet owners who are in need of purchasing clean trucks to meet the state's engine emission requirements. We also have a program called the CalCap Electric Vehicle Charging Station Program, and it's for businesses wanting to install electric vehicle chargers for their employees or their customers. This has a unique feature in that the borrowers may be eligible for a rebate after 48 months of the loan or once the loan is paid in full. The next program I'd like to just mention is our CalCap Americans with Disability Financing Loan Program, and this is for mom and pop businesses to help them make accessibility retrofits to their facilities. Lastly, we have a CalCap Seismic Safety Loan Program for small businesses and building owners to upgrade or seismically retrofit their buildings so that they can withstand earthquake events. I mentioned I provide this list because it's a good resource and you can look back on it to see what our programs are. I'll provide you information about our website at the end of the presentation, and that will link you to these different programs. CalCap by the numbers. I like to provide this. We are an established program. We're not a new program. As I mentioned, CalCap started in 1994, but our CalCap for Small Business program, we've enrolled more than 22,000 loans as of the end of 2019. In the Collateral Support program, these tend to be larger loans. We've enrolled 288 loans in that. Our truck program, over 26,000 loans since 2009 we've enrolled. And then on our CalCap EV charging station program, we've only enrolled 2 loans in that. Actually, one more this year. We enrolled another this year since 2015. And then our seismic safety, we're up and coming on that one, and that we've enrolled 3 loans in that program. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to really focus on the CalCap for Small Business program and our Collateral Support program, because I think those are 2 programs that small businesses that are looking to get access capital for a broad range of purposes, these tend to be a nice fit. The CalCap for Small Business program supports small businesses, including startups and nonprofits, by facilitating banks and other financial institutions to make loans to small businesses that may have difficulty obtaining financing. It's a loan loss reserve program that was designed to make lenders more comfortable with underwriting small businesses loans by providing lenders with up to 100% coverage on any losses that may result as a result of a loan default. The CalCap for Small Business program makes loans to small businesses, as I mentioned, for startup, for expansion, and in these times, probably for very useful need for working capital. we see loans for equipment and supplies and inventory purchases. Oftentimes, bridge loans when small businesses are waiting to get financing, for example, from the SBA loan guarantee program, they may seek out a CalCap loan to get them to that point on the front end, to get them to that point of the SBA loan, as I mentioned, for working capital, and then also for construction or renovation of buildings. The maximum loan amount in this program is $5 million, and the maximum loan that a lender can make in this program is $5 million, and the maximum that can be enrolled to have coverage in the program is $2.5 million. The program is very flexible. We allow the lenders, they set the terms and the condition of the loan based on the credit of the borrower, pursuant to their usual underwriting policies, and the loans can be short-term, long-term, have a fixed or variable rate, and bear any type of amortization schedule. So we allow the lenders to make that determination. Next, our collateral support program. This tends to be, as I mentioned earlier, larger loans. And it encourages banks and other financial institutions to make loans to small businesses by pledging cash to cover the collateral shortfall of a loan in order to enable the financing that might otherwise be able to take place for a small business. Again, small businesses often use it for working capital, startup costs, inventory or equipment purchases, franchise fees, construction, renovation, or improvement at their place of business, and again, oftentimes used for bridge loans. Well, permanent finance, they're waiting for permanent financing in the form of SBA or something like that to kick in. So that's why we tend to see larger loans in that program. There's a $50,000 minimum and a $20 million maximum for these under collateralized loans. And we provide an extra cash support for green loans or for manufacturing loans between $50,000 and loans between $50,000 and $250,000, and loans to businesses and severely affected communities. And I'll go into that a little bit in my next slide. There's a $2.5 million maximum collateral support per loan and borrower. So that's the maximum we can provide in the cash up front. I mentioned the severely affected community, and we have the ability through our program to offer an additional contribution for those loans that are in severely affected communities. For those in our CalCap for Small Business, our collateral support, our seismic safety, and our ADA programs. And based on where the business is located. So if the business is located in a community that has high unemployment compared to the state level, they can be eligible to get an extra contribution. The lender can get an extra contribution into the Loan Loss Reserve Fund. In March, we extended this in recognition of the impact of COVID-19 for businesses that are in designated businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19 are eligible to get an extra contribution as well. As I mentioned here, we've done it before for the disaster areas. We've done it for the earthquakes, the fires, and the public safety power shutoffs as well. So we are able to give an extra contribution to the Loan Loss Reserve Fund on those loans that are in high unemployment and affected by COVID-19 or the disaster designations. And we're seeing that as the unemployment rate increases, there are more and more businesses that are eligible to get this additional contribution. We really work closely with our lenders. That's the business's first point of contact as far as the CalCap program is concerned. And you can call our office and we'll help you as much as we can, but we will ultimately direct you to one of our participating lenders. And I've provided here a snapshot of our participating lender page, and you can see the arrow points to our CalCap for Small Business and our Collateral Support Program. If you click on those, it's going to give you a list of all the lenders that are involved and enrolled in our CalCap programs, and feel free to reach out to them. And then that is the best point of entry. I will say all of the lenders are really busy right now, so if you leave a message, I'm hearing they will get back to you, but if you have difficulty getting through or something, please reach out to us and we will do anything we can to help that coordination happen. The lender list that you'll see there, some of them, I think there's only one that's designated as for a very specific area. A lot of them lend statewide, so even if you see a zip code or an area for an area code for a specific area, many of them lend statewide and they're not specific to just narrow areas. And also on that list, we provide information, and I encourage you, if you have a community lender that you work with on a regular basis that you feel comfortable with who isn't on that list, we're more than happy to enroll them in the program. It's not a very difficult process, and we can provide them training and assistance to give them the information they need about the program and get them on board. So we're happy to enroll any new lenders, community lenders, or anybody you're comfortable with working with. We're happy to do that. And that contact information is, when you click on these pages, is at the bottom there. I provided here our email and our webpage. This is our overall CalCap webpage that I put here at the top, and it will get you to all the specialty programs. And then feel free to reach out to our CalCap team. We are here, we've been answering phone calls from small businesses who have questions, and we do our best to provide you whatever resources we can. And we also, I provide our Twitter handle here, because we do post the types of different types of outreach events we attend and participate in, and as we get information, we try to update it on there. So I can't see from my point if there's any questions, but I'm happy to take questions.
Actually, that was just a phenomenal amount of information. I want to reiterate to participants that we are going to be sharing the slide deck with everyone when we after this call, and so people will have those the resources that you mentioned. So thank you so much. In the interest of time, we do just need to move on to the next presentation. So it looks like, Noah, you have queued up the slides for Patty Castro. So we will go with Patty next, and Donna will back clean up. So Patty Castro is the Executive Director of the Alameda County Workforce Development Board, and a real expert friend. So I'm really excited to have Patty with us today. Take it away, Patty.
Thank you. So I'm really happy to be here. I feel this is such important work. It's so needy right now. Every day we hear about so many good resources, and our network just keeps growing and growing. I'm really happy to be a part of Kristen's group and my colleague Donna and the other two in Richmond and Oakland. We're part of a regional workforce effort as well, but I'm going to talk about Alameda County right now. And so without further ado, thank you for having me, and I really appreciate the resources that are being sharing with my fellow panelists. So anyway, so next slide. I just want to give a perspective before I jump into the programs and services. So next slide. Oops. Oh, here we go. So let me just share with you just what it looks like in Alameda County. As of April, the April data, the state always has a month behind. Our unemployment rate jumped to about 14.1%. It more than tripled. Before the pandemic, the unemployment rate in March in Alameda County was 3.9, and you could see things starting to ramp up because the pandemic hit us mid-March. But in February, it was a mere 3%. And then our COVID, our impacted workers as of the end of May, through the warn letters that we're getting, and keep in mind that not all employers have to file warn letters, but they're across Alameda County, there's 35,267 workers impacted by the pandemic. And this is just pandemic. And when you look at the non-pandemic related layoffs, it was only 2,951. The few WARN notice we've had since July up to this point it's under 3,000. So the pandemic was a real blow to our workforce and our, and as you know, our local economy. I don't have to tell you all that. So next slide. And so I'm going to just talk about our response to all of this. Next slide. So let me just go through some of the things we're doing with the business community. I mentioned that by the numbers, the workers impacted, the worker adjustment and retraining notification. For those who aren't familiar with that, or people have not had any exposure or had to file a WARN, this is required by employers in normal circumstances of 75 or more employees at a site. They have to send a letter disclosing the layoff and the reasons and the numbers and the job descriptions to the local workforce boards, to the state, and to the local elected officials. So we're getting lots of these. And so we've been, we're required to have a rapid response coordinator. That's the strategy that reacts to the WARN and tries to do meets with the employer, talks about a plan. But now we're just advising on how to do, who to submit, some questions. And the rapid response coordinator and the full service business team is really assisting with getting a lot of information out to the workforce and to the employers, so that this is what triggers their assistance for unemployment insurance, for workforce services through the workforce development boards and the career centers and their other service providers. So that information is really important to connect the services through the public workforce investment system with people losing their job. And right now we're just offering, our system is offering a lot of webinars and virtual services as best they could. It's not ideal, and as you know, people get further and further away from their paychecks, and this goes on longer. The impact on the types of workers, the workers in the service and retail, transportation, entertainment industries are the ones that typically have low wages, and those are the ones that we really want to see. We really want to bring them in, do things in create a network, help them start, keeping them in groups, but it's a lot more challenging when we have to do virtual. So we have a lot of concern about people not connecting under normal circumstances, these great career centers that we have across both, actually throughout the East Bay. And so then the next thing we're doing is we're documenting the data and the non-WARN employer data to demonstrate the community impact. Those numbers I showed you are of interest to our stakeholders, our elected officials, our human service agency. We've been sending them over to the food banks. They're very interested because they're doing they're doing a lot of ongoing strategic planning, because food distribution is really important right now, as well as everything else. But so there's a lot of organizations that are interested in the data that we're pumping out. So we've been doing our WARN release weekly. And then on the last item, is number 3, is we're adapting, the rapid response mechanism to, coordinate with our economic development, the EDD office on all, like you heard about work share, the uninsurance employment benefits, extended benefits, what they can get under the pandemic, additional assistance is all really important. Next slide. I'm going to roll through this really fast because I know we're short on time. We are actively participating with economic development, the East Bay Economic Development Alliance, you know them as East Bay EDA, on weekly conference calls. These have been very productive and very informative. The workforce people with local economic development agencies from our cities and our counties are talking weekly to share we collaborated with East Bay EDA on a survey. They did one of several. They did one, the Small Business Development Agency in Alameda County did a survey, and some of our chambers did surveys, but this is just an example of our partnership with East Bay EDA. The results of this survey, if you're interested, is on their website at eastbayeda.org. You can go there and read about what some of the businesses are interested, what some of their priority needs are. It apparently the revenue is a big part of it, access to capital, and then the paycheck relief is also really important, what they're going to do with their workers. We have a toolkit on our website for businesses and job seekers. Our website is acwdb.org. We update it all the time because there's so many things that are of interest. Lots of people trying to provide support and assistance, and so we have this toolkit that we're distributing. And then lastly, for businesses, we partnered with Mannix, that's the Manufacturing Excellence Consulting Agency out of San Ramon. We've done a lot of work with them in manufacturing. They're providing small manufacturing companies up to 10. We had funding for 10 to get free business assessments that will look at their cash management, look at operations, strategies, finance, and sales to see how they could be of help and how they could redirect services or create some plans and deliver some assistance during this time. Next slide. And then for our workers and job seekers, our career service providers, as I mentioned, they are open virtually. We're not sure when we're going to be open. Our largest one is here in Hayward. It serves a big population. It serves our poor neighborhoods and community. That's the one we want to open more quickly than maybe some of the others, but we don't have that. The ordinance has not changed on the shelter in place, et cetera. So we're still doing things virtually. In terms of grant sources and new programs that we're rolling out right now, because this money came in just recently, we got $153,000 for to provide supportive services to 100 underserved dislocated workers, including a focus on English language learners and low-income job seekers. This will help with some rent, paying utilities, tools and equipment for essential workers if they get a job in a field where they can go to work right now, transportation. It does a lot, except it doesn't provide for food. We got a national emergency grant in the amount of $400,000 to fund subsidized employment for COVID impacted workers, and we are looking at working with public health for the tracers, the contact tracers. There's some interest there. We're looking at working with East Bay Parks and the rec departments to get people that they're hiring right now. Well, they're going to be gearing up hopefully when the parks start opening. So we're looking for some easy connections that we could implement right away. And then finally, we received a $300,000 state additional assistance grant to target 150 impacted workers or other high need groups that have been dislocated. And this is really focused on two primary areas. One is what we call rapid reemployment. How do we get people into surge jobs right away? And then also we want to create a business hub, a hotline for businesses to call to continue to connect them with organizations such as the ones we heard, our SBDC, things that they just haven't, you know, they're small organizations, they're not in, maybe not in a network, but we want to be able to direct them as quickly as possible. Next slide.
Hey, oh, perfect.
We're done. Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
That's us in a nutshell.
Okay,
Yes.
Donna, and I know that you were we gave you such little time, Donna, but take it away. You're batting cleanup. The Executive Director of the Workforce Development Board of Contra, Costa County, Donna Van Wert. I really appreciate you being on the line, Donna.
And I'm going to say ditto to a lot of what Patty said, so mine can go pretty quickly. Yes, we are seeing about 14% unemployment in Contra Costa County. Since March 21st, we've probably processed about 231 more notices, and the UI data shows us about 161,000 have filed claims in Contra Costa County. So next slide. So what we are doing to respond, like Patty, all of our providers are working. They've ramped up, pivoted to virtual services. Just a list of our providers here. We can move on to the next one now. Services are being provided. We also ramped up our social media and our website. We came up with a Bounce Back Contra Costa campaign we are pretty proud of. Our website is full of resources. That is what we are trying to do, is provide resources. We're pushing things out via Twitter, Facebook, our website, to provide resources to both job seekers and employers. Next slide, please. One of the things that we did was we initiated a call center for small business owners and workers that were impacted. We started April 23rd, and we have served about 932 callers since then. First 2 days were the roughest because Cron 4 News advertised us as an EDD unemployment hotline. That was a little stressful, but I will say the people that called us in stress we responded to everyone within 3 days. They were happy someone spoke to them. So we have developed an extensive resource list for businesses and individuals, and staff that answer the phone are extremely responsive. If we don't know how, we listen. If we don't know how to serve them, how to refer them, we'll call them back when we do find out how to do it. Next slide. So another thing is Patty was talking about all the warns, and we usually have a team that goes out with EDD and supports the business and the employers. Since we haven't been able to do that, we've developed a virtual resource. Every Thursday at 2 p.m., Patients Ofudu's team and our EDD team and many partners, our service providers, are present, and people can call in and actually get live answers. This is very important for businesses and employees that have been laid off, because there's an EDD rep on the line that talks to them, answers their questions. We've been able to share work share and issues that people are struggling with in crisis to get their unemployment. Next slide. Another thing we've done, we have Skill Up Contra Costa, which is a free online career training. It's available to everyone in Contra Costa County. It's on our website. It's free. Businesses, employees, job seekers can sign up, and there's like thousands of free courses that they can take, many with certifications that will help them while they're perhaps laid off, continue to get skills. Next slide. Another thing we've done is contracted with California Employers Association. We have a hotline Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. It is free for all Contra Costa businesses. It is focused on HR practices, hiring and firing, paid sick leave breaks, etc. And they've also have a whole dedicated resource for COVID impacted issues. Next slide. And this is the first webinar. With this contract, we will be doing several webinars free to businesses. The first one that we're doing is the 3 R's to get back to work. And this is on June 16th at 9 a.m. Again, free to all Contra Costa businesses. So I want to share that, and we will continue to do more of those to support the businesses. Next slide. So again, as Patty mentioned, funding has been coming our way. We also have the same grants that Patty talked about, $108,000 for the supportive services. We received $750,000 from the state for additional assistance, and approximately, I don't have the final on what we got out of the CARES Act, the federal dislocated worker grant, about $500,000. So we are in the process of coming up with our strategy and our working with our service providers to get that out to the community as soon as possible. Next slide, and I think I'm done. That's it. You're on mute, Krista.
Yes, I got too excited. So thank you, Donna. You covered a lot. Now, we had envisioned, we've lost a few participants. We have some great questions. So if you can stay on the line for a couple of minutes, I actually wanted to go ahead and pose this question for Marissa Raya in terms of thinking about the dislocation to childcare that we're experiencing and working on, you know, in the sense that summer park and rec departments, childcare are only reopening at about 1/3 of their normal capacity because of safety restrictions. And many workers don't have childcare, right? This is a real problem that we have to address. I didn't know if anybody wanted to chime in about the potential for dislocated workers to move into childcare staffing to increase capacity. It's something we've been thinking about a lot at East Bay Leadership Council and the Economic Partnership. Anybody want to take that one? Patty, were you trying to answer that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, childcare is a highly regulated industry. So there is a real need. Even now, I feel like, there are people that are not working, but the people who are not working also have children at home. So I think the complications with childcare, you can't look at that without looking at what's going on with the school systems and what's going to happen with returning kids to school. Because childcare provides an avenue for women, primarily women, to have work, but then they also have children. And I think we need a comprehensive look at how we can move people and create, remove some barriers to people getting into childcare quickly. I also would say we have a lot of college kids that are home, who've been home finishing their school year. That might be another, avenue or another pipeline to look at. For we don't know how many college kids are going to be returning to school. So I guess my point is, when we look at childcare, I want to say, let's look at the opportunities that we have with people here who can work part-time jobs while studying at home, with that group of people who are in, maybe 18 to 25, and then look at what capacity do we have with people, with, what's going to happen with our school system. Not only, So anyway, I don't want to be long-winded, but I just wanted to make those comments.
No, thank you, Patty. And and then also Tim Leong had a question in terms of which Contra Costa areas. So maybe Janae, this is you. I can unmute you to answer about which Contra Costa communities are designated severely affected. The severely affected community designation.
I don't have that at my fingertips right now, but if somebody would like to email me, I'd be happy to send them a list.
Okay, great. And just as a reminder, the treasurer's office is going to be sending out the slide deck that has all of the panelists' contact information in it. And so, unfortunately, we're beyond our time. So I think that we're going to have to leave it there, but we're going to head and make sure that everybody's questions get answered and have paid close attention, and you can follow up after today. So I just wanted, on behalf of the East Bay Leadership Council and on the California State Treasurer's Office, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate the expertise that was shared from top to bottom. This was really a dense and rich set of information. So look for those slides coming in your inbox. And thanks again. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thanks.